And Julie's probably aware of this too. She fell in love with him, so she'll be all right. Next we are going to hear from another in the cavalcade of MCs who come by Ghost Town Poetry Open Mic, Ms. Joyce Coulson.
Can I say that?
No.
No?
You got a poem?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
Come on in, buddy.
Can everyone hear me now?
Yeah.
This
And here lies the flash
this first poem is a new one that I've created. At least I think I've created one. What I did is it's a poem that has 5 stanzas, and the first 4 stanzas are 2 lines each. Each line changes the wording of the second one. Or the first and second line are similar, but the words are rearranged and changed to mean something slightly different. And then the 4th stanza is 4 lines long and puts together the first 4 different subjects of the first 4 stanzas, which is tricky to do, but I managed. This one's called 2 Wishes. Here's to the wings of breath that gasp. Here's to the breathless flight of awe. Weird is the world that lives in peace. Weird is the peace with no living world. Be in touch with your self-awareness. Be in yourself, touching awareness. 2 hands holding together a wish. 2 wishes handed together to hold. To gasp with wings of living peace and touch awareness with 2 wishes. Here is the flight of the world, each self holding hands together. And I wrote this one today when I was having trouble with my tablet. I call it technology. When technology slows down efficiency, it is no longer a technology but Animal Farm. Power to the pigs. The same applies to error codes. I wish some engineers would do their homework. Then the quiz would be, what is 2 + 2? Not reboot, reboot. And this one's called diplomacy. Please and thank you. Are these the polite ways to say go to hell? Or does one single finger imply the location of where the sun doesn't shine? Only these subtle words recognize the diplomacy of life. If you can't say something nice, don't say anything at all. Then you can be the wrong, strong, silent type wrapped up in an enigma and considered a mellow wimp. Then and only then will a God smile and note that you didn't fall far from the tree. That's because you bent with the wind instead of resisting the inevitable. And finally, this last one called coincidence. It just happened that way. It was like 2 separated twins, as if the same things were not the same, but both had the same illusion. That is the magic of coincidence. When it happens by design and there was no designer, or the designer created an enigma which solved the coincidence. If this sounds convoluted, remember, it just happened that way. It didn't happen the way we wanted it to. It happened in such a way we would notice. And noticing what happened is what happened. You see, that is the miracle of coincidence. Because if no one notices the coincidence, it is no longer a coincidence. That is exactly why it happened that way. There had to be someone noticing what happened, so what happened became a coincidence. And in this contemplation is a strange coincidence. It not only happened, but it happened déjà vu.
Thanks, Joyce. So I hope everyone will come out to support Joyce's reading at Paper Tiger next Wednesday. Another open mic opportunity. And next we're going to hear from Mickey O. Come on up, Mickey. all.
I was going to read something funny from the Darwin Awards book 2, but I remembered that it's Valentine's Day. So I decided to read, well, the first thing is the second poem that I wrote to my significant other, Russ. And Ageless Valentine. Campfires like blazing pearls strung across the threads of time. Gazing into eternity, I see you, my goddess, dancing, dancing, round the flickering flames, your alabaster skin glowing, illumined by hearth fire. I close my eyes and hear your heartbeat, drumbeat, leading my body, my soul, into rhythms of ecstasy. I see your eyes watching me, lit with passion's fire, radiating our timeless love. In warm furs, in silken cloth, in blankets of wool, our devotion consummated through eons, through millennia, across the ages. Husband, wife, sister lover, brother lover, not ruled by gender, bound by souls, to the ends of the earth, to the winding of time itself. Beloved, I love you always. My first attempt at erotica. Woo!
Don't get any on me, okay?
You wish.
You might like it. Pomegranate. In the darkness I drink you, tasting your honey satin skin, licking crimson pomegranates, breathing your scent, melding your essence to my soul. In jeweled night, bound to each other with gossamer threads, tenuous and eternal, twined like vine and tree, sensuous serpents, devouring each other with hungers never sated, the pulse of two becoming one. And then lastly, I'm going to read one that is inspired by Rumi. Sunrise, my beloved's face, rising golden from the east, her radiant smile beaming from glorious heaven, surrounding my soul in joyous light. In ecstasy I raise my countenance, releasing my breath in songs of adulation to my divine lover.
That settles it. Licking Crimson Pomegranates is going to be the title of my next album.
You can use it if you want to.
Thank you very much. We're going to have two more open mic readers before we introduce our feature. The first is Don. I'm sorry, I'm just meeting Don, and I'm not sure about the last name, but he knows who he is. Don, or it's not Don, it's Dan. Where are you, Dan? You just stepped out. Where'd he go? Okay, so we'll flip it. Is he heading back this way or what? We've been waiting for you, Dan. This is your moment in the spotlight, in the track light.
Okay.
And what's the last name? I couldn't read it off of here.
Paisley.
Dan Paisley. Let's say hello to him now.
I'll only be about an hour. I must say I am humbled, and gratefully so, because we just moved up here from Los Angeles, where and like where poetry was supposed to be well received, and I'm just absolutely flabbergasted by the fact that there's so many of you people here who actually want to listen to poetry.
Well, we drank a little too.
I don't have a lot of time to pimp my book, but, but I'll take what I have. Oh my God. I'm just going to start with something I wrote today because, well, I'm here. I'm so happy to be in Vancouver. Though my friends in Portland said, compared to us, it's kind of dead. In Portland, we're foodier, we're fashion-setting breeders, and you would really have to say we're youthier, so much youthier. But the river here is wide, and in the cultural divide, the North Shore is always more defensible. I mean, you can look that shit up. And frankly, Portlandians over here, we are more sensible. We are Vancouver. You have to admit that we are a lot more couthier. Our restaurants all closed when folks should be in bed. A politician knows. No one cares just what he said. And pemmican is tastier if lightly chewed and toothier. Welcome to Vancouver, where folks are so much Vancouver. We all wear sensible shoes. Our fares are much more boothier. And when we tell the truth, our testimony is truthier. You can have your foodie hubris till your prices get more goofier. But over here, we are content and actually well-fed and being more, well actually quite a lot more Vancouver. I'm amazed. I'm amazed. Do you guys know why you're here? Did you think this was like kind of like a sex show or something?
Always a possibility.
I mean, it could turn, it could turn. but, oh, I'm so, okay.
What's your book called, Dan?
My book is called Ear Witness. And, well, I'll just read, what I got, 4 minutes and 8 minutes?
Wanted some more, that would be good.
I always dreamed growing up that someday I would be called into the castle of some king or queen or somebody to like make up shit. And I felt like really good about that. And I started writing rhymes and stuff. And this is one of the early poems in my book. It's called Bespoke Words. They call me Gypsy Jingle by appointment to the Queen. I stitch rhymes for her amusements, sonnets loving, limericks mean, eulogies embroidered with an applique of cloth, weaving odes of adoration, spinning slander from whole cloth. Some trick of my audition plays a xylophone of verse, euphorizing my condition. Some quite good, some are worse. I hymn roundelays for rebels, serve real tears with epitaphs. I'm in madrigals for vespers. papal satires just for laughs. I hide venom in false wishes. I help vent the royal queen. I praise gods and mortal masters as befits a sitting queen. I patch politics with slogans, jingle love, or baseless cant. I'm bespoke to be outspoken. I'm the 7th generation, quite well suited for my times. They call me Gypsy Jingle. I make rhymes. This is called All the World's a Stage. All the world's a stage, according to the bard. A stage you're going through or in your neighbor's yard. A proscenium extending from the sightline to the sky with hundreds in the chorus, plus the extras passing by, each and every one a hero with sanguine words to say, performing them with gusto in someone else's play, belting from the rafters, articulating prose, wailing grief and sadness, playing tragic cameos, laughing loud and dancing, making smiles of frowns, dining and romancing, bringing in the clowns, fostering illusions, sharing points of fact, moons made out of paper, adding magic to the act. Keep the grease paint roaring on the stages where you dwell, and when the curtain closes, 'tis hoped that all ends well. And then I got nasty. Disarm! 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 Disarm the brothers, disarm the cops, disarm the prisons, disarm the WAPs, disarm the Navy, disarm the Queens, disarm the Army, and the Horse Marines. And don't forget to disarm Jesus, anti-Semite soldiers and Jews. Take down those guns at CNN with some more disarming news. Disarm the Russians, disarm the banks, disarm the husbands, disarm the cranks, disarm the butcher, disarm the chef, disarm the triggers at the IMF. They're fucking with it. Disarm the bikers, disarm the courts, disarm the sportsmen, disarm the sports, disarm the union, disarm the farms, disarm the nudists, if they must bear arms. And don't be fooled by Venus. There's lust in warring hotspots round her globes. NATO requires a complete, I'm sorry ladies, cavity search. Better frisk old Moses up under his robes. Is a wizard's staff a weapon? Better look that up in Psalm 2. That's when I'll disarm myself. When I'm done disarming you, disarm the drivers, disarm the cars, disarm the movies, disarm the stars, disarm the dealer and the needles mark, disarm the raving when the cows go stark. Check out every nook and granny, till only plowshares fill each shelf. But you can't disarm another man till you first disarm yourself. Disarm your hatred, disarm your seed, disarm your science, disarm your need, disarm the pressure. When it's all disarmed, if you can find his pulse, turn off the hate alarm. That's it. Babylon 4. Babylon 4. Okay. What's the long one? Thanks. Babylon 4, Babylon 9, Babylon PBS. The rabble may babble without interruption, thanks to public access. It's crude and it's crass how this babbling class grew elite in the new Fourth Estate. Makes one yearn for those old hanging gardens where judgments were swift and reality-based. Pundits of pith spin rumor and myth in melodious, babbling tunes. There's the babble of stocks and the babble of jocks, misquoted in different saloons. From political peers to brash auctioneers, the babble is seldom abated. It gets abridged, bowdlerized, retweeted with footnotes, but never gets debabulated. I've been fired
Thanks, Dan. I hope that you'll come back. And now one more before we introduce our feature, and that is Herb Stokes. Come on up, Herb.
I intended to have music to accompany this poetry, but I couldn't get the damn piano through the door. Oh, if you'd like to. Did you lose something?
You said hum.
Yes, be careful. I also fart when I get nervous. I get nervous. He'll be all right. Give him a glass of wine and some diarrhea pills and he'll be fine. This is called Nightmare, like we've been having. Okay. Fear is a beast of the night. It starts when, as a child, we have to face the darkness of our own bedroom that can hide werewolves and vampires, in the closet, behind curtains, under the bed, or waiting nearby outside the house. And when all are asleep, enters noiselessly. But something wakens us to the danger. We know safety is down the hall, where our parents sleep in ignorance. But we are frozen in fear of being caught while attempting escape. So we shake and shiver alone in the dark and talk to God as the ultimate parent and seek His protection. Eventually, dawn rescues us. We are alive and have forgotten our fears, cheered by sunlight and warmth of family. But darkness will come, fear will return, and someday we will not be safe.
Thanks, sir. Now please say hello once again to Toni Partington.
All right. We're going to try this. Thank you. How are the short people?
How are the
How
short
is
people?
that? Okay, would you all do one thing for me? The ones that are seated, could you stand for a minute? All right. Arms above your head. This way. Lean that way.
That's good.
A nice deep breath. Okay, thank you very much. Been sitting a long time. I am so excited about our featured reader tonight. I'm going to do the classy thing, which is to read her bio, and then I want to tell you a little bit more. Nancy Flynn grew up in the Susquehanna River in northeastern Pennsylvania, spent many years on a downtown creek in Ithaca, New York, and now lives near the mighty Columbia in northeast Portland. She attended Oberlin College in the 1970s, Cornell University in the 80s, and got her MA in English and Creative Writing from SUNY Binghamton in 1994. A former university administrator, her writing has received an Oregon Literary Fellowship, the James Jones First Novel Fellowship, and been nominated for 3 Pushcart Prizes. Recent poems have appeared in Goldman Review, Pank, Posit, and Raven Chronicles. Her latest chapbook is Eternity, A Coal's Throw. A complete list of her publications are available at nancyflynn.com. Write it down if you want to remember it. It's good. All right. Now here's what I want to tell you about Nancy. Here's the dirt. We worked together in publishing the last printed version of Voice Catcher, which is an anthology of women writers. Nancy, on our editorial team, was the most crackerjack, do it right, difference between the use of a colon and a semicolon, ellipses, using punctuation, making sure your grammar was straight right on. I have never seen anything like it in my life. And I sincerely mean that. She's a superstar in getting that book to look the way that it did, that Voice Catcher Anthology, Volume 6. She went through it and through it and through it with fine-tooth comb, found every possible breach of grammar, punctuation, everything else that we were working on and thought that we knew how to do, and very clearly we did not do it as well as Nancy. So I want to say to you, Nancy, publicly, you saved our asses. You truly. And so much appreciated, because you know, if you have ever worked on an editorial team or put a book together or just gone through trying to assemble something like that, it is tedious, tedious, tedious work. It's long, it's thankless in many ways, and she'd get up at the crack of dawn, and I don't know, she probably was working through the night on stuff and never complained. Yeah. So I needed to tell you that about Nancy, because that book ended up being, I think, as good as it was as a result of her work. So, having said that, I want to sort of wave these around so that you know Nancy has these 2 great books, okay? She has them here tonight, and she has very generously said that the proceeds from selling these books tonight will go toward bringing David Meltzer to the Northwest. And we so appreciate that, Nancy. They're each $6, or the both of them. Whoops, I should have done like this. 2 for $10. These 2 for $10, okay? They're at the back on that little tiki bar that's in the back of this room. And during the break or whenever, if you would like to pick these books up tonight and help Nancy contribute to the Meltzer Fund, that would be terrific. Please, please welcome Nancy Flynn.